Eagles host the 2-2 Broncos at the Link on Sunday. All four of Philly's wins this season have come in one-score games, which is tied for the 2024 Chiefs for the longest such streak by any defending Super Bowl champion to start a season all time. And they've eked out these one-score wins because the offense has largely struggled. We heard A.J. Brown talk about it. Philly's normally efficient offense is second worst in passing yards per game, is also fourth worst in yards per carry. They lead the league in drives without a first down. RC, welcome back. We've talked about the frustrations within this offense, what A.J. Brown has said and how that's played out publicly. But are you, knowing all of that, are you more concerned about Philly right now, or you think they're going to get this right?
Hey, come on, man. I'm confident in Philly. Like, we've seen this before. We've seen this team have to adjust. Think about who they were before the bye week last year and some of the things we were saying that this offense couldn't do. This team was a 500 football team. And then look at the run that they go on. Look at the way that A.J. Brown plays, the way that Saquon Barkley plays, and their quarterback, Jalen Hurts. I'm not concerned about this team, but they also understand that it's time to get it going. Now, the thing that they have to focus on is what step does Kevin Patullo, the new offensive coordinator, take? Remember, this is the third consecutive year with a new guy at the helm calling the plays. What adjustments do you make? How do we allow A.J. Brown to become a more creative part of the offense? And how do we get Saquon Barkley back to the Saquon Barkley that was having an opportunity to get to the second level before he was touched by a defender? But we're saying all of that while they're 4-0. We're talking about what's wrong with the Rams, and they have 2 losses. You're talking about what's wrong with other teams because they lose football games. Even with some of the things they've been dealing with, they're finding ways to win, and that's what makes me confident.
I don't know if we call those champagne problems, Cam, but give me the quarterback here, because this team is undefeated, yet they're struggling with their passing offense. Is it on Jalen Hurts to get it right here? Because last I checked, he's still targeting A.J. Brown a lot.
Yeah, but not enough. And, you know, when I'm looking at from a quarterback's lens of when I see the Philadelphia Eagles play, I kind of agree with Drew Brees here. It is boring, but it's also effective. I can guarantee you that A.J. Brown's route tree is going to be as simple as anybody in the NFL with his skill set. But they're still 4-0. Okay, let's talk about facts. Well, when you play Dallas, if CeeDee Lamb catches 2 of the 4 drops, are we still having this conversation? Okay, you play LA, if you don't block a field goal, are we still having this type of conversation? Okay, when you play Tampa Bay without Baker Mayfield with the costly interception, are we still having this conversation? And I know, I get it. I'm going to beat everybody to the punch and say a game of what ifs. They're still 4-0. But my point that I'm making is this. A lot of teams have been letting them off the hook. And we know Philadelphia does not need help. They are one of the best, if not the best, football team in the NFL as defending champs, and rightfully so. And I've went on record, and I will keep saying it. The Philadelphia Eagles is a team that does less with more, and I think that's the most frustrating thing about this whole situation when you're analyzing a team as a whole, as they are still winning.
Well, excuse me that less is a Super Bowl championship. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, we underachieved and won the Super Bowl. Gosh dang it. It's so good. It's so much better.
Stafford gets the Rams moving in the final minutes. Matthew Stafford is moving efficiently as time runs out, finding 2 of his top receivers, Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, for long throws, 11 and 18 yards, respectively, on the first 2 plays of the drive. A 49ers holding penalty puts the Rams 31 yards from the go-ahead touchdown. As the game hits the 2-minute warning point, 49ers hold narrow lead after go-ahead field Jaldi Pinheiro gets a 59-yard field goal just inside the uprights to give San Francisco a 23-20 lead. That's a career long for the veteran kicker. The 49ers kept the game alive in regulation with a forced fumble at the goal line with just over a minute to go, and even after the Rams got a stop and forced overtime on a field goal with 2 seconds left in regulation, the defense got a stop on a 4th and 1 run by Williams. A call from Sean McVay to keep going for the win and not settle for a tie. Setting off a celebration, McVay was critical of himself post-game, but not for the decision to go. For it, the play selection was very poor, McVay said. I'm sick right now because I put our players in AS ***** spot. I've got to live with that. Yahoo Sports TV is here. Watch live. The 49ers kept the game alive in regulation with a forced fumble at the goal line with just over a minute to go, and even after the Rams got a stop and forced overtime on a field goal with 2 seconds left in regulation, their defense got a stop on a 4th and 1 run by Williams, a call from Sean McVay to keep going for the win and not settle for a tie. Setting off a celebration, McVay was critical of himself post-game, but not for the decision to go for it. The play selection was very poor, McVay said. I'm sick right now because I put our players in AS ***** spot. I've got to live with that. The 49ers kept the game alive in regulation with a forced fumble at the goal line with just over a minute to go, and even after the Rams got a stop and forced overtime on a field goal with 2 seconds left in regulation, the defense got a stop on a 4th and 1 run by Williams, a call from Sean McVay to keep going for the win and not settle for a tie. Setting off a celebration, McVay was critical of himself post-game, but not for the decision to go for it. The 49ers pulled off one of the shocking upsets of the early NFL season, ignoring multiple injuries for a 26-23 win over a Rams team that was 3-1 coming into Thursday's game. The 49ers were without their quarterback, 3 starting receivers, an all-pro tight end and one of the best defensive players in the NFL. They gave up a 14-0 lead as a depleted lineup looked like it was running out of gas. Mac Jones, starting at quarterback for the 49ers, played a good game despite spending plenty of it being looked at by athletic trainers for various injuries. And somehow they pulled out the win. The 49ers are 4-1 and will get some of their injured stars back soon. It's a win that will be remembered for a long time. It might be a night that's remembered when voters decide on NFL Coach of the Year. It wasn't their entire starting skill position group though. They still had Christian McCaffrey and they weren't shy about using him, for days after McCaffrey logged 31 touches against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Shanahan's plan was to figure out every creative way he had to get McCaffrey the ball. And it worked. The 49ers took a 7-0 lead on a Jake Tongs touchdown catch. That was a surprising start. Then the 49ers went on another long drive and McCaffrey scored on a catch. At that point, the 49ers led 14-0, and early in the second quarter McCaffrey already had 13 touches. Then when the Rams finally got a drive going, Rams running back Blake Corum had a pitch go right off his hands and the 49ers recovered. It looked like the Rams were the team relying on backups. The Rams scored late in the second quarter, but the 49ers came back and got a field goal. Somehow, the road team with more than a handful of stars out had a 17-7 lead at the half. They were underdogs, but they didn't act like it. Rams come back to tie it. Matthew Stafford had a rough start but got hot in the second half. Puka Nacua continued his dominance with a touchdown catch, and then Williams caught a second touchdown pass, Stafford's third of the night. That touchdown tied it 20-20 in the fourth quarter, though the extra point was missed and the game remained tied. Being tied and not trailing seemed to give the 49ers some life. They hadn't moved the ball much in the second half, but suddenly got a drive going into Rams territory in the final minutes. With 2:52 left, Eddie Pinheiro hit a 59-yard field goal to give the 49ers a 23-20 lead. The Rams got inside the 10-yard line on the ensuing drive, and the only question seemed to be whether the Rams could score and take the lead, or if the 49ers could hold them to a field goal. Instead, defensive lineman Alfred Collins punched out the ball from Williams just before he crossed the goal line. Collins recovered at the 1-yard line. More NFL news. Additional select Yahoo articles. NFL injury tracker. Latest injury news. Fantasy implications for Week 5 as Lamar Jackson ruled out. Bucky Irving on crutches. NFL injury tracker. Latest injury news. Fantasy implications for Week 5 as Lamar Jackson ruled out. Bucky Irving on crutches. Former Ravens defensive lineman Arthur Jones, brother of John Jones and Chandler Jones, dies at 39. Lamar Jackson ruled out for Sunday's Ravens-Texans game, could miss multiple weeks. However, the Rams still had all 3 timeouts left and the 49ers were backed up. The 49ers played it safe, ran 3 times and punted it away after a 12-second possession. The Rams converted a 4th down to get into field goal range, with Stafford hitting Williams for 13 yards, and Joshua Carty hit it to send the game to overtime. That's the last thing a thin 49ers team wanted. The San Francisco 49ers offense looks to bounce back from a 4-turnover performance this past Sunday. They'll attempt to do so with a backup quarterback and a couple of backup wide receivers. Still, it's a Kyle Shanahan team against a Sean McVay squad. Shanahan has been competitive against the Rams on the road. Injuries make the margin for error slimmer than ever, but Shanahan owns the advantage over McVay by a healthy margin. I don't think we have to worry about Shanahan trusting Mac Jones, who had 39 and 41 attempts in each of his 2 starts. On a short week, Shanahan may dial that back. Or he could lean into Jones, knowing the offense and dunk their way down the field. Christian McCaffrey will be involved. We know that. But who is the next man up for the 49ers? Kendrick Bourne, Demarcus Robinson, and Jake Tongs figure to be the primary threats. Defensively, Robert Saleh will craft a plan to slow down Puka Nacua and make life as